Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darren, and as you're watching this video right now, it should be Tuesday the 27th, and a series of nerfs and buffs, mostly nerfs for Outlaw rogues, come out today. There might have been actually a few more patches, but this is what is available literally a day before it at 7:41 p.m. So please do check in with the contents down in the description below of MMO Champion, covering everything there is to know about all the changes happening to rogues or other classes in general. So today we're going to take a look at some of the nerfs that Outlaw rogue got hit. I mean, at first it was a little bit of subtlety, they nerfed some of its damage. Then Assassination took a whole 30% agility nerf. Actually 40 if you apply the 10% stat nerf that everybody got. And now they're hitting my main man, Outlaw. So let's take a look at what these changes are, and I'll go over exactly what they are doing. And you guys should probably sit until the end of the video, because right now you're sitting here thinking, oh, Dal is overhyping this. I'm not really trying to overhype any nerfs. Those are nerfs, but it's a question of just how detrimental are they to the spec, and I'll be going over that today in the video. Also, if you do come to my live streams, I don't know if I'll be streaming anytime soon. I might be streaming tonight, might not. I've been having some really bad internet issues, which is making playing World of Warcraft, let alone watching a YouTube video, unbearable, and I'm not really sure where all these came from. I've been struggling to figure out what has been an issue for this for at least 2 months, and I'm at the brink of my patience, so bear with me if this video takes a while as I go over all the buffs and nerfs. So besides having shitty internet, they also nerfed my main man, Outlaw. Let's take a look at some of the nerfs that happened to the spec. First one was the PvE changes, which do kind of bleed into the PvP, and those are really with the artifact weapon. The first artifact trait that is on the chopping block is Fatebringer. So Fatebringer reduces the energy cost of finisher moves by 4 for every single point you put into it. But they're changing it so it's going to reduce the energy cost of finisher moves by 3. So you are going to gain 3 energy on all of your finishing moves, which I feel like isn't all that bad. For the most part, I have been doing fine with the energy cost that I've had thus far. For PvE, it does allow you to get a lot of run through, so this is going to slow it down a little bit. But for PvP, where it's all about energy pooling, you're not really going to be slowed down by that much. So for PvP, you should be set. The next one, a chopping block, which is actually kind of a big one, which kind of does deal with our burst. I don't think this will make us completely inviable, but this is happening in PvP. We have Face Thirst, which normally reads it'll increase your run-through damage per trade applied by 8% per trade applied, with a maximum of 24% for the trait. So your run-through damage will be increased by 24%. They are nerfing it down to 6% per trade, so the maximum potential you get out of your run-through will be 18%. So that's basically a 6% nerf to your run-through, although I don't think 6% is enough to make us completely inviable for PvP, as we still do deal increased damage, and with the availability for crits, it is still a lot of the pressure that we're able to put out. So I don't think this is going to be enough for PvP, but it is one of the more notable nerfs thus far. They're also taking steps to nerf the damage of Black Powder. Black Powder normally reads increase the damage dealt by you between the eyes by 8%. And as far as I understand, they're nerfing it to as well, just like run through, to 6% per rank. Now the damage of Black Powder and the damage of between the eyes isn't as important as run through, but it is kind of silly that our finisher damage is getting nerfed slightly. And I guess it's understandable because we are putting out a lot more damage, so this will be a bit more manageable for other classes outside of Outlaw rogues. I don't think nerf to the Black Powder is going to be as effective as the nerf to the run-through trait, although I'm pretty sure we're going to be still fine after the nerf to run-through, because 6% nerf isn't really a big nerf in my opinion. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the more notable PvP changes that are coming out to Outlaw. First of all, the Control is King talent, which is the king of the talent tree. Its duration for General Rush is reduced from 5 seconds to 3. This change isn't all that bad because we do go out to stun targets a lot more often, so we do gain Control as King a lot more often, but the reduction from 5 seconds to 3 seconds is going to hamper us down a little bit on the energy regen. But when I say hampered down, I guess I more mean balanced down more than anything, because having 5 full seconds of adrenaline rush is a lot. So with the 3 seconds that we are given still allows us to continue our burst and continue dealing a little bit of increased damage and energy regen every time we stun. So we still are rewarded for doing a basic mechanic, which is stunning our enemies. and it just does not make this ability way too strong where you barely ever have to use Adrenaline Rush, because let's say you stun an enemy, you have full 5 seconds of Adrenaline Rush, and the enemy is stunned for 4 seconds, you get a next stun afterwards, you get another 5 seconds of Adrenaline Rush, so this will kind of slow the gameplay down a little bit where it's not going to be too overwhelming. So I think this nerf isn't going to be too hectic for us. I feel like it's kind of a justifiable nerf because it did feel like I could sit and, you know, using Adrenaline Rush all the time using Controller's King, especially when you have cooldown reduction where you can stun enemies back to back to back to back using between the eyes. So I mean, there's still applications for it where you can maximize on it. It was just weird that you could maximize on it with simple things like stunning a target for CC, stunning him in the opener, which was a little bit overpowered. The last on the list for the PvP portion of Outlaw Rogues is Between the Eyes, which is one of the best stuns in the game. One of my most favorite abilities is seeing a critical strike nerf. Its critical strike is reduced to 100% in PvP instead of 200. So the way Between the Eyes works and what made it so, I guess, worthy of a nerf is because for PvE aspects as of, I guess, today, Outlaw Rogues Between the Eyes, when it crits, it deals 4 times the damage instead of twice the damage. So when it deals 4 times the damage, it can be basically a million if you have the right buffs in PvE. And in PvP, it can take off 500,000 and even more easily, depending on which buffs you have. If you have Berserk, it can literally be 900k worth of damage, which is a little bit silly for a stun to hit you that hard. I mean, on one hand, it's understandable to get a stun and get a Adrenaline Rush out of it, but when you hit an enemy with Berserk for literally a million, it is a little bit overpowered, especially for a spec that already has so much burst. So I completely feel like it's justifiable for Between the Eyes to be reduced in terms of its crit, because there have been multiple situations where I'm playing in Arena and Between the Eyes was able to open us so much more opportunities, where for example we train one target and we were trying to CC the other, I hit him with Between the Eyes and it's like, wow, now we have 2 targets at low health because I crit the other guy for 500,000 and we can literally swap to whoever, opening us too many opportunities and making us really strong, which of course I took advantage of because it deals that much damage, but I'm completely fine losing the bonus critical strike on it. Overall though, I guess the question now to ask, is Outlaw Rogue getting really all that nerfed? And the answer is, it's a solid, I think not, basically. What I'm trying to say is Outlaw Rogues are doing really strong right now, and they are not getting hit all across the board, just like how Subtlety and the Assassination Rogue got hit. Assassination Rogues got hit by reducing their overall agility by 30%. That means all of their abilities that deal increased damage are just gone. For example, you could hit for about 300k with an Envenom with about 200k tagged on with System Shock, but now the damage is more about like 200k damage with Envenom with about almost 100k with System Shock, so that damage went from like 500 to 300. Outlaw Rogues aren't going to see that much of a damage decrease, as it is only about a 6% decrease for your run-throughs, and when we're critting all the time, the 6% doesn't really account as much into it because we have so many other damage buffs. It isn't going to make that much of a difference. The ability is getting toned down from the artifact perspective, but not from like the questing and the general damage, but it's only like getting toned down for like max level. Another ability that is getting toned down, which I guess is completely justifiable, Between the Eyes. First of all, it's a range stun with the 6 combo points deeper stratagem, which most Outlaw Rogues are doing for PvP. It deals 6 second worth of a stun, and when it hits enemy for 500,000, that was a little bit insane. I'm completely fine giving up the ability, and it will still have capability to crit, so being able to use Between the Eyes is still going to be worth it in some occasions, because not only are you stunning, giving yourself an Adrenaline Rush for 3 seconds, instead of 5 now, you still have the capability to crit. So with Between the Eyes hitting for about 200k worth of health, it will crit for about 400k worth of health, so that's still pretty good. So the damage of Between the Eyes and run through will be somewhat on par, but there will be that tie-in for the stun and slightly bit less damage. When it comes to the Adrenaline Rush being given from Controller's King, there's a lot of stuns and polymorphs going on in the game as is, and in a BG especially with stuns being almost consistently applied left and right, you feel like you never have to use Adrenaline Rush, which makes Adrenaline Rush more of a cooldown that you really need to use, and it makes sense to use in some situations even though you know you're going to be getting free Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush will still allow you to get a little bit extra energy back because you're not using Vigor. So the main purpose of Adrenaline Rush from Controller's King was so that you got extra energy while you are not using Vigor, which it will do, and it will just make you a little bit more conscious about not spamming out your abilities. So for the most part, I feel like Outlaw Rogues are just getting slight tone downs instead of like big nerfs. They are nerfs on paper, but I tested Assassination, and I felt like the damage for Assassination felt somewhat comfortable, even after the nerfs. Subtlety, on the other hand, I feel like is a bit more tied to the artifact weapon, which I don't really have leveled out, but I felt pretty comfortable on Assassination end. We're not getting agility nerfs across the board, we're just getting certain abilities toned down. And one of them that getting the biggest nerfs are between the eyes, with its crit and overall damage reduced, which for the most part it's a stun. It should be stunning. It was really cool that it deals damage, but for the most part, as long as it keeps stunning, and if it can still crit, at least for 400k worth of health, I'll be still fine. Anyway guys, this is everything I have for the Outlaw Rogue nerfs, and I wish I could say buffs, but nothing really specific is going on. Maybe there has been more additions has been added, maybe some nerfs and buffs have been added in or taken out, but I won't know until Tuesday comes around. So I will have you guys a link from MMO Champion of the all the information I've used, but otherwise do go to MMO Champion or Wowhead and make sure to confirm that all these changes are applied and see what did go through and what didn't go through. Other way guys, hope you enjoy the video, hopefully you enjoyed the update. Let me know what you think about the damage nerfs that Outlaw Rogues took, which I think are very minor. My name is Dal, and I'll see you guys in the next video.